Friday, November 17, 2023, 4:47 p.m. Pacific Time. Sam Altman is sitting in a conference room at OpenAI's San Francisco headquarters when his laptop pings. A calendar invitation. Urgent board meeting. Zoom. Starts in 13 minutes. No agenda, no context, just a link and 4 names. Ilya Sutskever, Adam D'Angelo, Tasha McCauley, Helen Toner. The entire board except Greg Brockman, his closest ally, who isn't invited. Altman joins the call at 5 p.m. exactly. The faces on screen are stone. No pleasantries, no small talk. Ilya Sutskever, OpenAI's chief scientist and Altman's longtime collaborator, speaks first. The words are clinical, rehearsed. The board has lost confidence in your leadership. Effective immediately, you are removed as CEO. This decision is final. 15 minutes. That's how long it took to fire the man who built ChatGPT, raised billions from Microsoft, and turned OpenAI into the most valuable AI company on Earth. No warning, no performance review, no explanation beyond a vague statement about Altman not being consistently candid in his communications with the board. And then the call ended. Sam Altman, dethroned by the very people who were supposed to protect his mission. But this wasn't about performance. This was about power. And what happened in the next 5 days would determine who controls the future of artificial intelligence. Let's rewind to understand how we got here. OpenAI was founded in 2015 as a nonprofit with a utopian mission: build artificial general intelligence that benefits all humanity. The founders, Altman, Elon Musk, Ilya Sutskever, Greg Brockman, and others, believed AGI was inevitable, but they feared it would be controlled by corporations like Google or Facebook, optimized for profit rather than safety. So they structured OpenAI with an unusual governance model, a nonprofit board with absolute power. The board's job wasn't to maximize shareholder value, it was to ensure AI development stayed safe, ethical, and aligned with humanity's interests, even if that meant slowing down, even if that meant saying no to billions of dollars. But in 2019, everything changed. Building cutting-edge AI required compute, massive amounts of it, and compute costs money, tens of millions, then hundreds of millions. OpenAI was burning cash with no revenue. So Altman made a controversial decision: create a capped profit subsidiary. Investors could fund OpenAI and earn returns, but only up to 100 times their investment. Anything beyond that would go to the nonprofit mission. Microsoft invested $1 billion, then $10 billion, then $13 billion. OpenAI was no longer a scrappy nonprofit. It was a hybrid creature, part charity, part unicorn startup, and the tensions were starting to show. The board stayed small, deliberately, just 6 people. 3 from inside OpenAI, Altman, Brockman, Sutskever; 3 from outside, Adam D'Angelo, founder of Quora; Tasha McCauley, an entrepreneur and AI researcher; Helen Toner, a researcher at Georgetown Center for Security and Emerging Technology. The outsiders had one job: keep OpenAI honest, make sure the mission didn't get corrupted by profit, hype, or ego. And by late 2023, they were convinced that Sam Altman was becoming the very thing OpenAI was created to prevent. Here's what the public didn't know. In the weeks before Altman's firing, OpenAI researchers had achieved a breakthrough. A new model, internally called Q-star, pronounced Q-star, had demonstrated something extraordinary. It could solve grade school math problems that required multi-step reasoning. Not by memorizing answers, by actually thinking through the problem step by step. To most people, that sounds incremental, but to AI researchers, it was terrifying, because math is the foundation of logic, and if an AI can reason logically, it's not just predicting text anymore, it's thinking. And thinking systems don't stay contained. Several researchers sent a letter to the board. The contents were never made public, but the message was clear. Q-star represented a potential leap toward AGI, and they weren't sure OpenAI was ready. Some believed the company was moving too fast, prioritizing product launches over safety research. They pointed to ChatGPT's explosive growth, 100 million users in 2 months, as evidence that OpenAI was no longer a research lab, it was a product company, and product companies optimize for growth, not caution. Ilya Sutskever agreed. The man who co-invented modern deep learning, who had been Altman's partner since day one, had started to believe that OpenAI was losing its way. He saw Altman pushing for faster releases, bigger models, more partnerships. He saw the company prioritizing Microsoft's commercial interests over safety research. And he believed that if AGI arrived under these conditions, humanity would be in danger. So when the board approached him about removing Altman, Sutskever said yes. It was the hardest decision of his life, but he thought he was saving the world. The Friday firing blindsided everyone. Employees found out via a blog post. Microsoft found out via a phone call. The tech world found out via Twitter. And the statement was maddeningly vague. Altman was out because he wasn't consistently candid. That was it. No details, no specifics, just a corporate euphemism that could mean anything from lying about revenue to hiding a secret AI experiment. The ambiguity was intentional. The board didn't want to explain Q star. They didn't want to admit they were scared of their own technology. So they fired Altman and hoped the world would move on. But Sam Altman doesn't move on quietly. Within hours, he was at the home of Greg Brockman, OpenAI's president, who had resigned in protest the moment Altman was fired. They started making calls. Investors, employees, allies, and the message was simple. The board just killed OpenAI. Because firing Altman wasn't just firing a CEO, it was severing the company's relationship with Microsoft, alienating 700 employees, and destroying the trust that made OpenAI functional. If the board wanted to slow down AI, they had just accelerated OpenAI's collapse. By Saturday morning, the rebellion had begun. Senior researchers started tweeting, "OpenAI is nothing without Sam and Greg." Employees began organizing. A letter circulated internally. The demand, reinstate Altman or we quit. All of us. And they meant it. By Sunday, over 500 had signed. By Monday, it was 700 out of 770 total. The board had lost the company. But the board wasn't backing down. They appointed Emmett Shear, former CEO of Twitch, as interim CEO. Shear was respected, experienced, and crucially, not Sam Altman. The message was clear. We're moving forward without him. But Shear walked into a disaster. His first all-hands meeting was a revolt. Employees demanded answers. Why was Altman fired? What did not consistently candid mean? Was this about Q star? About safety? About ego? Shear didn't have answers because the board hadn't given him any. He'd accepted the job on a Sunday with 4 hours to decide, and now he was standing in front of 700 people who wanted him gone. Meanwhile, Microsoft was in crisis mode. Satya Nadella, Microsoft's CEO, had invested $13 billion in OpenAI. He'd built Azure's entire AI strategy around GPT models. He'd staked his company's future on this partnership. And now, his partner's board had just imploded the company without consulting him. Nadella got on the phone with Altman. "What do you need?" Altman's answer was bold. "Hire me. Hire Greg. Hire whoever wants to come. We'll build the AI research division you've always wanted, inside Microsoft." Nadella announced it publicly within hours. Microsoft would hire Sam Altman and Greg Brockman to lead a new advanced AI research team, and any OpenAI employees who wanted to join were welcome. It was a declaration of war. If OpenAI's board wouldn't reinstate Altman, Microsoft would simply rebuild OpenAI inside Microsoft, with the same people, the same talent, the same mission, and OpenAI would be left as an empty shell with a board, a name, and no one to do the work. The pressure became unbearable. Investors threatened to pull funding. Employees threatened to quit en masse. Microsoft threatened to stop providing compute. And then the coup began to fracture from within. Ilya Sutskever, the man who had led the charge to remove Altman, posted a tweet that shook the entire tech world. "I deeply regret my participation in the board's actions. I never intended to harm OpenAI. I love everything we built together, and I will do everything I can to reunite the company." It was a confession, an apology, and a capitulation. Sutskever had realized too late that firing Altman didn't protect OpenAI, it destroyed it. The board he'd empowered was now negotiating with a man they'd just fired, trying to find a face-saving way to bring him back. But Altman had leverage now, and he wasn't coming back on the board's terms. By Tuesday, November 21st, 5 days after the firing, the board collapsed. Adam D'Angelo, Tasha McCauley, and Helen Toner resigned. A new board was installed. Brett Taylor, former co-CEO of Salesforce, Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary, and one retained member, Adam D'Angelo, the only holdout willing to negotiate. Sam Altman returned as CEO, not as a supplicant, as a conqueror. But here's what most people missed. Altman didn't just get his job back, he got everything. The new board was his board. Allies, pragmatists, people who believed in moving fast and scaling AI, not slowing down out of fear. The old guard, the safety-focused researchers, the effective altruism advocates, the people who thought AGI should be built cautiously, they lost, completely. And Ilya Sutskever? He stayed at OpenAI, but his power was gone. He'd tried to stage a coup to protect humanity from reckless AI development, and instead he'd empowered the very forces he feared. Because when you try to remove a founder and fail, you don't get a second chance. You become a cautionary tale. Now let's talk about what this actually means. The OpenAI coup wasn't a personality conflict. It was a war over the future of artificial intelligence. On one side, people who believe AGI is dangerous and must be developed slowly, carefully, with safeguards and oversight. On the other, people who believe AGI is inevitable, and the only question is who builds it first. If we slow down, China wins. If we hesitate, we lose the race. And losing the race means losing control of the most powerful technology in human history. Sam Altman is in the second camp. He believes the best way to make AI safe is to build it, deploy it, and iterate in public. Release ChatGPT to 100 million people and learn from what goes wrong. Partner with Microsoft and ensure the West maintains AI dominance. Move fast, because moving slow is more dangerous than moving fast. And the board's attempt to stop him didn't slow AI down. It just proved that OpenAI's governance model, a non-profit board with absolute power, was a fiction. Because when the board tried to exercise that power, the company nearly collapsed. Microsoft threatened to rebuild it, and 700 employees chose Altman over the mission. The lesson is brutal. Infrastructure power beats governance power. Every time. OpenAI's board had legal authority, but Microsoft had the compute. The employees had the expertise. Altman had the relationships. And when those three forces aligned, the board's authority evaporated. You can write a charter that says the board controls the company, but if the board can't keep the lights on, can't retain employees, and can't maintain investor relationships, the charter is irrelevant. And now OpenAI is a different company. The pretense of non-profit governance is gone. The new board isn't going to slow Altman down, they're going to enable him. The safety researchers who tried to pump the brakes have been sidelined. Ilya Sutskever, once Altman's equal, is now a diminished figure. And the message to everyone in AI is clear. If you want to build AGI cautiously, you're going to lose to someone who doesn't. But here's the question no one wants to ask out loud. What if the board was right? What if Q star really is a step toward AGI? What if OpenAI really is moving too fast? The board's coup failed not because their concerns were invalid, but because they had no leverage. They had authority without power, and in Silicon Valley, power beats authority, every time. Sam Altman is now the most powerful person in AI. He controls the company building the most advanced models. He has the backing of Microsoft, the loyalty of his employees, and a board that won't challenge him. The checks and balances that were supposed to prevent OpenAI from becoming a reckless, profit-driven AI company? Gone. The non-profit mission that was supposed to prioritize humanity over shareholders? Subordinated to commercial reality. And the terrifying part? This might have been inevitable. Because the only way to compete in the AI race is to move fast, raise billions, and deploy at scale. And the only way to do that is to give up the fantasy of cautious, democratically governed AI development. OpenAI tried to have it both ways, a non-profit mission with for-profit speed, independent governance with commercial partnership. Altman's victory proved you can't, you have to choose, and OpenAI chose speed. 5 days. That's how long it took for the most important governance experiment in AI to fail. A board tried to slow down the man building AGI. The man won. The board lost. And now there's no one left to stop him. Not because Sam Altman is evil, not because he wants to harm humanity, but because the system that was designed to constrain him collapsed the moment it tried. This is the hidden story of the OpenAI coup. It wasn't about Sam Altman lying to the board. It was about whether anyone can control the development of artificial general intelligence. And the answer, it turns out, is no. Not boards, not charters, not mission statements. The only thing that controls AI development is the people building it. And if those people want to move fast, no governance structure on Earth can stop them. Because when the coup failed, it didn't just reinstate a CEO. It proved that AI development is ungovernable. And that should terrify everyone.